All right, guys, in this week's lesson, we're going to talk about how to get this ball out of terrible lies off the edge of the green. But before we get started, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell button. Every time I send out a new video, you will get a notification. So I really appreciate you having me. So how in the world do we hit out of these lies? You see, the pros make it look so incredibly easy. As you see from this lie, you can't even see the golf ball. It's virtually buried. And I've got to slide this club under the golf ball, somehow get it up in the air and land it relatively softly. I can't have this thing fly off the back of the green. So think about it for a second. I know I'm not going to be able to make direct contact with the golf ball here. So I have to concede to the fact the ball's coming out on a cushion of grass. It's coming out on a cushion of grass. So the tour players and the really good golfers, they understand that, okay? They know that their golf club's going to come in 2-3 inches behind the golf ball, and they're actually setting up to hit that very shot. So we've got to make sure that we use the upper body. That's very, very important to understand. Your upper body, guys, is what transports the arms in this motion. You can't stand here and just use your hands and arms. And one thing I see all the time, which is an absolute disaster, of course, you don't want to overuse your legs. And that's where I see most people get into trouble, not just here, but in the bunker too. Remember, this is a very different kinematic sequence. The full swing, of course, we know this. Lower body, upper body, arms, hands, club. We've got the lower body initiating the downswing here. This shot is hit primarily from the waist up. We're going to get that lower body kind of out of the way. We're going to get our weight forward and our lower body out of the way, kind of emulating impact in many respects. And then all we got to do is focus on making sure that that upper body works effectively from right to left. Important to understand. So let's start with the basics. Open the club face first. Use a lofted club, 58 to 60 degrees ideally. If you don't have one of those, a 54, 56 degree wedge, go ahead and make sure you open it even more. Loft is going to be your friend, and the reason you open it is we want to make sure we utilize the bounce of the golf club. We want to make sure we take care of our shallow end of the club, which is right back here. We don't want to get too steep. We don't want that club digging too much, okay? The next thing you want to do is make sure that you align slightly left to compensate for the fact that the club face is open. I'm going to go ahead and hit from this thing. This is not rehearsed. This ball could go anywhere, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. I'm going to get a little wider. I'm going to get my weight forward. I'm going to get my ball forward. Let's have a crack at it here. Oh, I'll tell you what, almost broke my wrist on that one, but you can see it's up there on the green. I managed to get it done, but I made absolutely no contact, guys. No contact with the golf ball, okay? That was all grass. But because I had a long enough swing, it didn't really affect it that much. It worked really, really well. It got out just fine. So what have we got to do here? Let's talk about the verticals in the golf swing for a second, because obviously we want to make sure here that we've got that club swinging up and down, just like we do in a bunker. So there's two ways to get that club hinging and working up. We can use the heel pad of the lead hand, and we can push down on the handle as we take it back, kind of feel like we're pushing down, which in turn elevates the golf club and gets it above our hands, because we want to make sure that we're not dragging the golf club away. If we do that, we're going to hit way too far behind it. Or what I like to do is I think about my thumbnail, and what I like to do is kind of feel like I'm pulling my thumbnail kind of towards me. So I set up to it, and I literally have the feeling that my nail is going to be working towards me as I take the club back, and that has this effect. You can see if I do that, if I just simply get my thumbnail working towards me, I'm going to take care of some of the verticals in my swing. So now I can create that descent angle, which of course is going to be required in order to get underneath this thing. Very important to understand. I'm going to hit one more. Club face is slightly open. Ball forward, guys, a little bit more towards your left foot, just like a bunker shot. Again, remember, we're hitting behind the golf ball. The last thing you want to do is put it in the middle of your stance. And then I want to do a little bit, feel a little bit more pressure forward here, maybe 70% of my weight on my lead side, okay? Let's get to work. That was really good there. Woo, we'll take that all day long. From that lie, that ball sat down really, really softly. I'm going to hit one from face on. Oh, man, these are ugly. Okay, same thing, different angle. See, the ball's going to be slightly forward. Weight's going to be forward. Make sure you don't tuck that right shoulder and get too much spine tilt. We're going to do exactly the same thing here. Really softly, zero contact with the golf ball, plenty of motion. So the difference in speed, really important to understand here. If I swing sort of knee high, that club's moving maybe 10, 15, could be 20 miles an hour at most. You get that club to waist high, you're getting up to 30 without any effort whatsoever. You get it up to shoulder high without any effort. Just allowing the club to swing freely, the speed almost triples for where it is down here at knee high. So that's important to understand. What you don't want to be doing is forcing the club through. And that's what I see an awful lot here. I know the ball's in a terrible lie and it's sitting down and everything in you is saying, well, I've got to go ahead and really get after this. But the truth of it is, if you can get the club on a little bit more vertical orbit, you really want kind of a 1-to-1 type of ratio here. The actual ratio is 1-2. We want to be twice as fast on the way down. I always tell my students to feel like you're 1-1, almost like you're letting gravity do the work. But the key here is to make sure that your upper body keeps moving. Transport the arms through the golf ball. Don't stop at the golf ball. Don't make the ball your target. Remember, we've got to keep moving through it. That is incredibly important. So when I finish my swing, not so bad over here with the lie, but I'll show you. So you can see when I finish, I'm up on my left side. I'm facing my target. You don't see a whole heck of a lot of weight back here. And that's what I see with most people trying to help the ball out. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is the release pattern. Really important to understand, because this is what great players understand and bad golfers do not. The whole point here is to come in with an open face. Use the loft, use the bounce. That's the whole point of hitting this golf shot, okay? So why in the world are you coming in and closing the club face as you make contact? You've got to keep the club face open. The only way you can keep the club face open is by having an extension release pattern. That just means the left wrist here, if I go ahead and cup my left wrist just like this, that's extension. Right? This is flexion, this is extension. So when I come through here, I feel that the back of my left hand actually points up. I don't want it to the side, and I definitely don't want it underneath the golf club. I want to go ahead and get the back of my left hand feeling like it's pointing up, okay? My right hand, conversely, is going to feel like it's underneath the handle. Can you see the effect that has on the golf club? It keeps the face open, okay? So we're not going to stand here and drag the handle through and hit one of these type of shots. I mean, the speed's got to go somewhere, right? So we don't want to come in and slam the brakes on here. What we've got to do is we've got to let that club go. But don't let it go by rotating your forearms. Let that speed move into extension. That lead wrist is going to feel extended and cupped, okay? That is what's going to enable you to maintain an open club face, which is incredibly important if you want to hit out of a gnarly lie, you want to land it softly. There is a trick to this. You need to learn how to do it, okay? So remember, 1-to-1 ratio. Don't go jabbing at it. Don't go stabbing at it. Don't get stuck on your back foot. I see that all the time. Simply rotate your upper body. Finish with your weight forward. Allow the golf club to do the work for you. It's amazing. You do have to practice, but it's amazing. Your buddies are going to look at you and say, how in the world did you do that? So get to work. Have a crack at it. Good luck. Enjoy hitting out of bad lies. There's nothing better.